I am unashamed. What about you?
So welcome back to Unashamed. I was mentioning that I was, on a previous podcast, I was in Nebraska earlier this week, and it was interesting because they'd sent a note, there's people that kind of handle us going places, and so she sent me a note from the organizer of the event, and she said that they were wearing, all of their board members, and because this is a pregnancy center, and all of our board members and the staff of this little small place was wearing camo for the event. And so she didn't say anything about us, but instantly when I received that, I thought, well, why would they tell me that? Are they wanting us to wear camo? Because in the early days, when we were doing events, I would always wear camo to the events because there were a lot of sportsmen's banquets and things like that. So it was kind of my modus operandi, but I haven't done that recently because these are usually banquets, and so we just kind of dress in our normal clothes. So I sent a note back, finally connected with the person. I said, do you want us to wear camo? Because, we can wear it. And she said, oh, well, that's up to y'all, but yeah, that would be great.
See, that's the difference in me and you. I don't ask.
That's all you wear.
90% of my wardrobe is camo.
Well, you got camo shoes, like slippers.
Yeah. You miss show?
Yeah, he got... He kicked his foot up. It looked like a...
Do you see that, Maddie?
They say George on the bottom, so whatever.
Well, I'm going to tell you that my son...
That was a gift.
Actually gave me these for Christmas. You know what's fascinating?
What?
They're waterproof.
Oh, that's interesting.
You live in Louisiana and you have shoes. So you think they're slippers.
Only in Louisiana do you need waterproof slippers.
I mean, think about that. But if you walk in any depth of water in those shoes, they're going to tip you tip your waiters. They'll tip the shoes.
Yeah, but it's like a Piro.
You say I'm going to go jump in a lake with them.
I'm just
saying. But Jason's right. You walk through a yard in Louisiana, if it's a recent rain, it's going to go up 3 or 4 inches.
Oh, I'm taking out the garbage. Guess what? I don't have to take my slippers off. And the reason I call them slippers is because when you squirrel hunt, you have to slip. Be quiet.
Which is why Dad hunted in socks.
And he passed that on to me.
Yeah.
The problem is there's a thorn issue.
Yeah.
That, remember, he would spend...
countless
hours.
He would come in from a squirrel hunt, and he was very successful. This is back in the day when we were living off the squirrels.
This is when he was the squirrel commander.
Yeah.
There was a pattern. He would shoot the squirrels, clean the squirrels, before she started preparing to cook the squirrels, or he would cook them also.
Yeah.
There was a thorn removal.
Yeah, and Mom would have this bright light, and she would be there with a couple of needles because she would usually, it would take a couple because she would literally dull a needle on his feet because it was like he had these pads on the bottom. And she would pick thorns out of his feet. How many times did we see that, Jez? I mean, it was...
I'd say 100.
Yeah, I would too. It was amazing.
Did y'all like the squirrel, by the way? Y'all like to eat them?
Love squirrel.
Is that a joke? What have you not eaten squirrel?
I'm not a big fan of it. I mean,
I would put that at the top of all rodents.
Do you eat squirrel brains?
No, but my mom did. But we didn't eat them because there's not really a whole lot there.
Yeah.
But she seems to think that it contributed to...
But you put it up there in the top to contribute to the what? I
put it at the top of the rodent family.
Yeah.
But the chasm is great. There's there's squirrel, and then there's everything else.
It's always, when it comes to game, or really even...
He didn't put it at the top of the game. Wild game.
Well, I'm saying
at the top of the rodent category inside the wild game.
But I was about to say, when it comes to rodents, it's the same with game. It's all about what they're eating. The reason you don't eat rats is they're eating garbage and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, squirrels eat nuts, and they're eating good stuff.
They're actually really good.
Don't
eat bear either. Bear's not good.
No, because they eat out of trash cans.
Why would I want to eat a bear?
I went to a wild game feast one night, and they were serving black bear, and I was like, I can't. I mean, I know what they eat
because you see them in your trash can.
You've given us a good reminder on why we have so much friction. I would. Basically, after this 4-minute conversation, classify you as a yuppie.
Because I don't eat bear?
Because he's wearing an orange hat?
No, just because you're like, do you eat squirrel? I mean, what kind of... When you say something like that, I mean... It reminds me of this conversation Jesus was having.
I'll eat them. I'm
his
just
persecutors.
It's just not my. It's not in my.
I still remember.
Look, you're asking the wrong questions. Do you eat squirrel? That I didn't even want to answer.
I should ask you, how do you prepare your squirrel?
Yeah, I would say my favorite is they'll brown them. They'll cut them into 4 pieces, brown them, then put them in the oven for an hour. Put whatever they put in there. I don't know how to, and then they make a gravy out of the dribblings and you eat it over.
You just kind of pan fry them to sear them, and then you put them in your onions and your gravy. But it's funny because they're like a lot of game. The legs are really the only meat because they got a backbone.
A little bit on the back. But you also have squirrel and dumplings, which is my favorite way to eat dumplings.
Yeah. So mom would boil them and then take the water off the boil like you would a chicken to do the.
Like a dark meat, kind of like a dark meat.
So it's funny. One time we went to New York to do a show, and I think it was Wendy Williams used to be a person that had a television show. And so mom and dad and maybe some others were going to be on her show. Well, she wanted squirrel. So they had sent word ahead from mom to cook and bring squirrel. Well, she did. But she just pan fried some, but you're going all the way to New York, so it was like 2 days before we actually got in the studio, and so it obviously wasn't going to be the best it'd be if you serve it. But she wanted to try it, but she took it and she bit down right on the shoulder of that squirrel that had been made like 2 days earlier, and she kind of was crunching around trying to eat it. It was so funny because it was like there was some meat on there, but she went right for the bone on that shoulder.
Well, if you don't know the anatomy, it's like we eat a chicken leg, but we know there's a bone in there. But when you're eating squirrel and you've never eaten squirrel, you're like, ooh, what is this? It's called.
So the experience wasn't very good for it. I thought, but when you're trying to eat a bone.
But it made great TV.
It was good TV.
It made good TV.
It was funny.
So look, we're famous for being outdoors people, and I have a really exciting thing that I'm involved in with my brother Willie, and I'm going to give you a plug because what I'm fixing to tell you about, it will sell out. So I'm giving our Unashamed.
They're getting a preview. So the Unashamed audience is getting early
bird special.
I'm just saying.
We don't know. We can't guarantee it's early bird. I don't know.
Well, that's true. I don't know what it is.
No, look, on May 3rd, which is a Saturday, at Camp Chioa, which
was where my parents met there.
Yeah.
Willie and Corey met there.
They did. They fell in love.
They fell in love
I saw my wife there before she was my wife and thought, ooh. So at Camp Chioa, which the Chioa stands for Christian Youth Camp. I recently just learned this.
After all those years.
I thought it was a Native American name.
Yeah.
But if you take the first 2 letters, you understand Camp, CHYO Youth, Camp, CA, Camp Chioa. Isn't that cute?
Church Youth Camp.
So at Camp Chioa, Saturday, May 3rd, they're having a Sportsman's Day. I will be speaking. And look what's going to happen. It's a whole day, family fun, live fishing, duck call demonstrations, a barbecue competition, jumpers. I'm not sure what that is.
Those are the things that kids jump around in. They're like the blow-up things.
Well, I thought that was just like people jumping around.
Petting zoo. Look, axe throwing.
Okay.
Ooh.
And
which makes people jump.
Yeah, that's how you throw an axe at them.
It's open to all ages. There's an archery competition. There's also a silent auction with amazing stuff. So I think it's $15 for adults. The kids get in free.
Yeah.
And it will sell out. But I wanted to invite you. Camp is kind of a special place for all of us. Yeah. But
it's 90 acres, about 15 miles from where we're sitting.
In the wilderness.
But there have been so many lives transformed on this 90 acres.
Yeah.
Because so many years through the years we've done camp out there. I was a spiritual director there for 10 years. My era was in the 90s. And everybody's kind of spent different time working there. But now, because of our family's influence and doing it, we get to do a lot of this outdoor stuff, which is really, really cool. We didn't have that before. This has been a fairly new thing the last few years. To actually get in the woods and teach people about archery and fishing and all
Cook
this
some
stuff.
squirrel. We barbecue some squirrels and figure it out. I might show up and do my burgers. If a barbecue, I'll do barbecue burgers with imitation cheese, and we can just see what happens.
You may win.
Let's see what happens.
So there's competition. You're in the woods. You'll get first-rate instruction of the wild. So even if you're a yuppie like Zach, or you're just a redneck and want to have some fun, it's open to everyone. But once it sells out, it'll be gone. So it's May 3rd, Saturday, Camp Chioa. Go to Camp Chioa.
How do you spell it?
So you got Camp. CHYOCA.org.
Yoka.
Yeah.
Chioa.
And I guess you can register there. But so that's my pitch. Yeah, I'm promoting that today.
Yeah.
So in various ways. So y'all come out. It'll be fun.
All right. So I know you got some more to do with that. So we're going to take a break and we're going to bring in some special guests.
Very special to
Very special to
Bring
Zach.
in the bullpen.
So it's summertime, which means there's a lot more time with our kids, our grandkids. Jay's little man comes around. How important is it to have something to read to your children, your grandchildren, or your godchildren?
Oh, we're family. I'm hearing that famous song, We Are Family, in the background. That's what happens when we get together.
And that's why we love Brave Books, Jace, because Brave Books help parents raise strong families. Each month, Brave sends out a new book that teaches lessons like courage, forgiveness, or standing firm in your faith. And we know that biblical values and biblical stories are the best ones. And Jace, you literally are a part of the Brave family because Missy wrote Because You're My Family about unconditional love, which is fantastic.
Here it is, Because You're My Family.
Jeff and Jessica also wrote one called Dear Valor, which is an awesome story about adoption. They've been on the podcast to talk about it, which we love. So we're all in on Brave Books. It's a big part of our family as well. When you subscribe, you not only get a new book each month, but you'll also get access to Brave Plus, which is their new streaming platform packed with safe, uplifting shows like Strawberry Shortcake, Bob the Builder, and Iggy and Mr. Kirk with Kirk Cameron. So the world is trying to confuse and distract. Brave Books helps families stay grounded, and that's why we love them. Here's what you do. Head to bravebooks.com/unashamed. Use the code unashamed to get Missy's book, Because You're My Family, and Jeff and Jessica's book, Dear Valor, for free. Can't beat this deal. That's bravebooks.com/unashamed. Raise them with truth. Raise them brave. All right, so welcome back. We traded Jace. He had to go do some promotional work. We traded him for much younger.
The next gen. My daughter,
generation.
Laela, is here in the house.
Layla's here. Layla, what's your last name now?
Skinner. But I did keep Dasher, so I have 4 names.
Oh, really?
Layla, Beth, Dasher, Skinner.
Okay.
Oh, wow. A lot of names. Yeah, forget the one name. You're going with 4.
Yeah.
And then we got I say you're like a son to me. I'm like
was it be a protege?
So this guy was in the college ministry.
Reeves,
he was part of our college ministry, obviously friend of the family. And now these two together are part of LO Worship, which is why we're in town, by the way.
Yeah.
We were in town because y'all did your first live album with Sadie last night.
Yeah.
Which was awesome, by the way.
And by the way, I literally watched these two from the womb, as they say, grow up into amazing people that love the Lord. Now they're both married, which I want to ask about that too later. But fantastic example of what happens when you have community, when you have faith leading your family, when you teach these things going forward. And as Zach said, we were able to even do that with Reeves through, you become a college student here, working at Camp Chioa, all the different ways we've had into your life. So just 2 great examples of what we talk about on the podcast all the time. It's important. If you don't have that going on in your own family, you don't have community, you don't have the idea of building a legacy through your children and grandchildren, you have to start now. Somebody's got to start being the one that says, we're going to change that culture, and we're going to do that. And these 2 people are examples of that. So,
well, welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us. I'm excited to be here.
So I know about LO Worship because obviously you guys are in it. We've been watching from the beginning, but tell the audience who may not know what you guys are doing with Sadie. I think it's pretty amazing.
Because whenever I heard LO, I thought laugh out loud because that's what we do all the time. It's your dad.
Yeah, it's a age old debate of whether it's LO. A lot of people say low as well. I like low because it reminds me of like lo and behold, lowly worship. I just think
gentle and lowly.
Yes, gentle and lowly. But it stands for Live Original, which is obviously Sadie's ministry. And she used to be on the road a lot and would kind of bring in these outside bands. And then would always just she always had a heart for having a team that was like aligned with her vision and honestly just like a part of her family and a part of what was going on here in the community. And so then she reached out to Reeves and you probably can take it from there.
Yeah, I jumped on. I was working at camp and leading worship there and like taking care of the grounds. And
you kind of oversaw the whole. You lived out there.
You were like Willie. Willie was
you
original.
were Willie 2.0.
Yeah, you were the maintenance guy that took what Willie never did the job right, and then they brought in this guy to turn it all around. Yeah, you did a great job.
Not quite.
Yeah.
It's like a really crazy story. But at that point, I was working at camp and started leading worship. And I had a degree in construction and didn't really want to do that. And saw the door open for me to stay here and work at camp. And I had just come out of like the roughest patch of my life. Just struggled really bad, drugs and alcohol at LSU, and at like my lowest, just really like the end of my rope. Just had a moment of clarity and switched over to ULM like halfway through college, and so that kind of led me to the Lord, and I didn't know any like singing being a part of my life. Like music was in my family, and I played piano growing up, and I moved back, kind of picked up guitar and just messed around with it, and had some of y'all just really pour into me and push me to get out of my comfort zone and try it out, and just jumped in. So it ended up bringing me to where I was at camp and taking care of the grounds and leading worship for the summer camps, and really trying to take camp to this next level where we had all these rentals and we had renovated the whole space, which I got to use some of my construction stuff, just partnering with Willie on that and like contractors during COVID, the whole shutdown and everything. But I just ended up walking through this crazy season where I learned that the Lord was calling me to something bigger than I ever thought. And it was like, it's crazy. I love talking about it and remembering, because there were so many hard parts of like working at camp, and that might sound crazy because it sounds like such a fun, but like it was really hard. Like just as I started doing these crazy things, leading worship, and like understanding the gravity of what I was being called to do, I was going and doing this awesome stuff, and then coming back to camp and like I'm cleaning toilets.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had one of the like craziest, like studying the word. I was reading through David, and like he was taking care of his sheep and then going and playing for the king. And that's really like, I started resonating with that. I was like, so what I really wanted like everything to be rushed. I wanted it to all blow up, and I wanted like to go and lead a bunch of people in worship. And I started having these crazy like visions about like just mass groups of people just coming to the Lord and crazy stuff. Even like what we did last night, like I've just had dreams and visions about it. And so then I had this huge tension, and I'll just tell like a quick story. It's crazy. Some people like gave these ducks to camp.
Like real ducks?
Yeah. And they like clipped their wings and
They couldn't fly away.
Yeah, and then, but of course, they're like, all right, somebody gave us ducks, so now it's my job to take care of these ducks. So I'm feeding the ducks every day, and
the duck commander gave you the job to be the duck keeper. Wow.
So I'm like,
there's so much irony in that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Can't kill them.
Yeah,
don't kill them. Take care of them.
Yeah. So I'm like feeding these ducks, and they started like, I would walk down there and any noise I made, anything, like they knew my voice. I'm serious. And they'd come.
You were a duck shepherd.
Running
you were
to
a duck
me.
shepherd.
Wow.
They come running
They
to
trusted
me
you.
to be fed. They knew I was coming to feed them. And like, I'm reading about, and I understand the context, like shepherds back in the day, like sheep knew their voice. And I say that story because it's just so weird. Like it was just so strange, and in this tension of like, what does this mean? And like, I feel like we're still finding that out.
Yeah.
And last night was like crazy. Like the Lord just keeps showing up and doing this amazing stuff. And every day I'm just like honored that I get to be a part of what the Lord's doing. And I know you probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
But
I like that too, that to continue your David analogy, I never thought about it like that. But also, even you were talking about having a period where you were, away from what you learned early to then be in your own lifestyle, and how that led you to nowhere, which is a lot like David when he went on like a 3-year run, where he was looking for the flesh, that led him into the whole Bathsheba situation. He comes back and he writes Psalm 51. Which Lisa and I affectionately call truth vomit now.
It's my favorite song.
Because it's just like, here it is. So I mean, good. It comes out and you feel better after you let it go because you held all that in.
Yeah.
And so only then can you see the clarity of how God would have you shepherding ducks or whatever, sheep, to get you ready for what he wants you to do. And you look back through the Bible and it happened over and over and over again. It's like Moses, who was ready to lead, and man, he's young, he's strong, he knows all the military stuff. And then God's like, no, you're going to need 40 years forgetting how to speak
in the wilderness,
taking care of some sheep, and then I can use you.
This is great news. We have a sponsor who has zeroed in on the problem with trees. When they are growing, they do it really slowly. So if you could only have a company that could have fast-growing trees.
That company is here, Jay. It's fastgrowingtrees.com. Fast Growing Trees is actually the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. I've purchased the Leland cypress, which are border trees for my yard. Al, what did you pick again?
Well, I'm down here on the Gulf Coast, so I like a coastal vibe. So Lisa and I got a palm tree and also some fruit trees that are doing amazing.
Fast Growing Trees offers a wide variety of plants, including fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, all kind of shrubs, all tailored to your climate and your space with an easy online ordering process and quick delivery straight to your door. Plus, with their Alive and Thrive guarantee and expert support, your plants will arrive healthy, and you'll receive guidance on choosing the right plants and learn how to properly care for them. If you like to do your own research, their resource center is full of tips and advice from their plant experts to help you learn more about your yard's needs so that you know what will thrive in your area and with your particular yard conditions. So check out their zone finder to see what growing zone you're in. I'm in zone number 7. So this spring, they'll have the best deals for your yard, up to half off selected plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code Unashamed at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Unashamed at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com code Unashamed. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use Unashamed to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
I don't know who said this recently, but they were like, I think it was Brandon, pastor of our church back in Black Mountain. He said, you're having all these dreams to like go overseas and be a part of this mission work and do these like awesome things for the kingdom, but like you're not even making your bed.
Yeah, you want to go change the world, but hey, why don't you start with
and I think like that's the story of honestly our team is like when Sadie called me to be a part of the team, I was literally in high school. I remember I was standing at my locker. I was like about to go to math class. I was 18 years old. I knew nothing. I just knew that I loved to worship God and I loved music. And I had prayed that it would be like something that I really could have a career in, but didn't know how God was going to make that happen. But I also knew that deep down, like I just felt that he was going to honor that desire in some capacity. And I think I was the same way. Like I remember getting that call and thinking like, this is it. Like it's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Like we're going to start, and it is such a process. It's a refining process and it's slow and it's good that way. Like, I mean, from when we first started, like the songs we were writing to now, like the difference is just like crazy and it's been slow and it's been good and it's been constantly like learning how to, because honestly, like I remember getting that call. I was a senior and I was like, well, that's it. Like not going to go to college. Like that's it. I don't need to go to college. And then it's like, no girl, like you got to go to class.
Yeah. It's it reminds me of, it's actually a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, who I don't agree with his philosophy, but this is a really brilliant quote that Eugene Peterson later picked up and wrote a book titled this, the long obedience in the same direction. I think I got that right. Long obedience in the same direction, which I think when you think about worship, I mean transformation of the heart. I mean, it's a lifetime. But I love that. I love that last night you guys sang a song which hasn't been released yet. So I guess we can talk about it, but we won't. I don't be able to hear it yet. When does this album come out?
Probably close to conference, which is in September.
That's what I'm thinking, like end of the summer maybe.
But last
we'll
night,
probably do singles.
But last night was the first time that you guys have recorded a live out. So it was like a big production. We had I don't know how many people fit at the hub, but it was packed.
Yeah, praise God for that too. Like,
it was packed.
You're praying for that.
Yeah, you had all the cameras and everything. So it'll be out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere. You guys do have music out, which you got a lot of great songs. Well, let me say this too. When Reeves said that we spoke in, I did not speak into you about music. I had no clue when I was your college pastor that you had this gifting. So you're talking about.
Nor did I, who've known him his whole life, and so we were beginning the early process of doing an instrumental service at our church. And at this time, I was still there. I still was working there, and I come in. And literally, they're playing and someone is singing, but I'm kind of off to the side, and there's these poles in our fellowship center that kind of block your view from certain positions. And so you were blocked. And so I was listening. I thought, man, this guy's pretty good. But I couldn't see
You didn't know who it was.
I didn't know who it was. And finally I peeked around the pole to see who it was. And it was Reeves. And I was stunned. I was like, Reeves leads worship.
Yeah, I was shocked too because when I heard you were doing
and you were great. I mean, like God was.
Well, I thought, let's Sadie do. I mean, like if you're gonna do it right. Don't get some local guy.
Don't get some duck shepherd from camp.
Some duck shepherd from camp. Yeah, but anyways, and I heard I was
duck
like,
shepherd.
The duck shepherd.
That would be a good something.
That's going to be something in the future. I planted a seed.
Are
today
you on
with
social media, by the way? Do you not do it?
I don't have any.
So he has no social media.
He's against the grain,
which is hilarious to me because he's like. The young guy, but he's anti-social media. So, but if you do get on Instagram, that's your handle, the Duck Shepherd. That'll be your handle. Okay,
born right here on the Unashamed
born
podcast.
On the Unashamed. Someone's going to grab that.
You should just tell Lydia to change her handle to the Duck Shepherd's wife.
No.
Well, I wanted to say last night though, the songs were a whole lot about like the first. I love the flow of the evening because it was a lot of songs about our relationship to Christ. Meaning how he loves us, which is part of the story, right? I mean, I know a lot of times we get like worship leaders get flack for singing songs that aren't all exhausting, that are more, but there are a lot of psalms that are about how God responds to us. But I love how you ended it because you ended it with a response back to God. I'd love to hear kind of what y'all are thinking. Did y'all intentionally put the evening together in that capacity?
I mean, honestly, like these songs. It was God just like placing them exactly where they were supposed to be. There's a lot of refining. We've been writing these for 2 years?
Yeah, some of them even longer.
Yeah, I mean, some of those songs I guess have been in years and years and years. But we wrote that last song just a few weeks ago. And we wrote it we were like, we need a song just like high praise, into the night type of thing. Because it's called Songs for the Anxious Heart. We're taking a lot of our scripture from the Psalms, because like the key of the whole, it is a concept album. So it really does move you through a journey of like anxiety to peace only through Jesus. And he's the only answer. And yeah, Reeves can probably speak into that a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's, I think you're right on. I think we ended up like over the past couple of years, we just found ourselves writing from these places of like really hard seasons that we were all going through.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there were a couple of songs that just really stuck out, and somebody that's been like mentoring us on the writing side of things was like, y'all have a lot of pieces to a really cool concept that I think people need today. Just like this, title track for the album is Song for the Anxious Heart. So we looked up and we had all these songs from these really like deep, like places of pain and struggle. And so, I mean, I was immediately like, I feel like that's so needed. And we need like this edge of just being real in music and yes, in the worship space, but like maybe it's not always, just a song for church. Like I just see a huge need for like, whenever I'm struggling with anxiety or pain or any of these things, like when I have a song that somebody else has written that can help me through that and just bring me like this level of peace, and I can just, yes, sing to the Lord, but also just like be sung over and like just play a song and just breathe and know, like be still and know that I am God. Like that's really helpful for me. And, yeah, so we just like went with it, and like all these pieces started coming together, and then we got to write with this amazing guy, Jason Ingram, and he said something that like really, I felt like it was like the like cherry on top of the whole thing. And he was just like, man, I think everybody's ears are so tired. And I was like, that's how I feel. Like
the worship wash.
In the worship space, like I just feel like there's so much striving right now for this crazy, huge like production. We see it in churches and like this like chase for fame. And like I just feel like I'm exhausted. Like just listening to some of the stuff, like hearing these things that are coming out, like it just feels like the cyclical, like we're just like, everything's just in your face. And it's just, I just want some peace. Like I need peace. Like I need to feel the presence of the Lord. And so,
one author said it best. He said, to be disruptive is actually to be quiet, to be a non-anxious presence. And I think that's like so true for our time that people do get exhausted. You get exhausted with I think that's a generation too coming out of social media. Like you're looking and everything is big. But
well, and I also think sometimes just from a person who knows nothing about being able to plan or do worship like you guys do it, but as a recipient, I guess you would say, and participant at the same time, I think about that. Like you said, everything is about trying to somehow, when you think about praise, is that everybody's always in the best mood at all possible times. And it does. My favorite text in the Bible about worship, and it's not, people have talked about it before, but it's my favorite, is in Job 1.
Zach, when I see you, I think that guy, he is a pure talker.
There you go. Well, actually, I got to warn you, don't get sucked into the scam that the big wireless companies do. They do this whole free phone game, but it always comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 additional lines, plus activation fees, plus. And at the end of the day, you end up paying for the free phone 3 times over, but there's a better way. Our friends at Pure Talk, sponsor of this podcast, and my wireless company, have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. This phone has virtually indestructible Gorilla Glass, and it captures beautiful wide-angle photos with your next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with a mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. I made the switch. I'm telling you, it is super easy. I love these guys at Pure Talk as well because they truly believe in helping veterans. They're raising money to provide scholarships, to support veterans learning trades after active duty, helping to also eliminate veteran debt, and they're raising money to end veteran suicide, which is something we want to be a part of. So here's what you do. Go to puretalk.com/unashamed to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/unashamed to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
When Job gets on the worst day of his life, when he lost everything, all possessions, everything he knew at that point, and including his children, it says in verse 20, he fell to the ground in worship and said, and here was his song, naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. And I think about the reason why this always spoke so much to me is that, we tend to think of worship and praise only on the best days of our life. And even if we're not there, we try to kind of fake it to get there. But what about the worst days? I mean, are you still able to recognize who God is and still give him praise? And that's always stuck in my mind that no matter how I gather with people or even if I'm just on my own, I do some of my best praising on airplanes, when I got my noise cancellation to cut everything out and I feel like I'm a few miles closer to, leaving the planet. Yeah. And I just have some moments, because in those moments is when sometimes you make those connections. So I love that, what you're saying, because you're right.
Or it's defined, I love how Paul defines worship. He broadens the definition.
Yeah.
Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship.
That's right.
It's not limited to
Sunday morning,
to the Sunday morning of the song, which, I think that's what's cool too. Like the songs don't have to fit into a box. I think that's one of the, we talk about this a lot, the secular sacred divide, that we're going to put it into this one category. These are the only songs you sing for the kingdom or for Christ. But man, there are a lot of different ways to express through your art, the beauty of Christ. And
so I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because of what you guys have already said about your experiences for LO and worship. You had a strange opportunity this last year. By getting an opportunity, you and Max, to go on American Idol, which in our culture, and I don't know how long American Idol's been on television, but
it's been
at least a decade.
Probably y'all's whole life.
No, it was.
It's been 2 decades.
It started the year before I was born.
Wow, so it's 2 decades.
Yeah.
So, and it has produced a lot of really famous singers now that were, people that have been on the show, not necessarily one, just were on it. So I'd love to know, because we didn't talk a lot about it because your dad couldn't talk much about it when you guys were doing it. So I'm curious now, as the experiences you're having on the worship side and where God has taken you here lately, how would you compare that experience of doing that? What was your mindset going in? I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's so crazy how even in a year, your heart can change so much to in your desires, honestly, because I felt like I went into that having this desire to obviously make it far and then maybe release my own stuff after and ... whatever that looks like. And I remember going in thinking this is it. The same thing with this is what's it's the nail in the coffin for me. I would be able to quit school and do this full time. And it wasn't that. We made it through 3 rounds and then we're cut. And honestly, it was God's blessing and provision that happened that way. Honestly, even from just a contractual side of things, just being able to be out then and terminating that, because they have a contract with that show, and getting to really focus on LO worship full time. So I think rather than a disappointing experience, it was a clarifying experience for me. I'm not supposed to be in that world. And at the end of the day, it's a TV show. So like there's going to be things that are narrated in scripts, whatever. But yeah, it was a clarifying experience. I remember leaving and flying home, and 2 weeks later I got married. Like it was like so quick. And then like that next Sunday I was leading worship at church, and I was just like, man, this is like, or the Sunday after I got married, when I got home from my honeymoon, I started leading worship at church, and then things started picking up with Ella worship, and I was just like, man, this is like this is where my heart is like for the church. And I will say that God is always moving. He is moving everywhere. So I remember like being in Hollywood and being on the show, and there were like so many worship moments that broke out that the production team would have to come and be like, guys, y'all need to like quiet down. Like this is too much. Like just because people just praising God.
Yeah,
like
the contestants. They
were like every day, just like worship breaks out. And they said this happens every year. And it's because I think that like when you get that many musicians together, like the believers come together, and I saw people like deeply touched by that. I saw like to this day, people I know whose lives were changed just from like getting to experience worship. American Idol also like honors Christians really well. Like they honor the people that like sing worship music. So that's really cool about that show. So that was really cool. It was encouraging to me. But at the end of the day, like I really think that I believe that anything that is like worthwhile is going to take hard work, and it's not an overnight thing, and it's a process. Like we were talking about earlier, like Ella worship has been a process. And I think that it was a great experience, but I'm so grateful how it turned out. I'm so grateful I didn't make it further than I did, so that I am free to do the things that I'm doing now. And yeah, like my heart just, I don't know, there's something, even just in the past like 2 months, I'm just like, man, I agree with Reeves. Like I want to go back to what it's all about. And like it is all about him, you know, and it looks different because like, I always go back to the Psalms. I got an opportunity to do this like residency summer thing where we were studying the Psalms, like deep dive into the Psalms and writing songs from the Psalms, and it's so beautiful.
With our friends Shane at the Worship Initiative.
Oh yeah, shout out Shane and Shane. They're amazing.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, Shane squared.
A shameless plug.
Well, I remember like, okay, full transparency. I remember like for a season not wanting to do Christian music at all, because in my mind I was like, that's boring. Like there's these rules that you have to like follow, and you have to like, and almost like it was like creatively limiting, if that makes any sense. And I don't know why that was. I don't know if that's because I've grown up in the church. I don't know. And then God started giving me like more language for who he is and for his glory, and more language for his goodness. And I started reading, like I did that deep dive into the Psalms, and I'm like, man, there is so much beauty here. Like this is the furthest thing from boring. This is stunning. Like the language. And I mean, there's like Psalm 51, Psalm of repentance, like songs for the repentant heart. There are songs for the anxious heart in the Psalms. There are songs for the people that like have been deeply wronged and want justice. Yeah. Like, and those are kind of hard to read because it's like, God, would you like smash my enemies against a rock?
I love those.
Those
I got a list of people.
Those are called
Mr. Cynical speaks again.
Those are called imprecatory psalms. That's what we call those. I haven't heard a lot of songs that come out of those, but
that's the next. That's the next genre. You guys got it right. Songs of justice. Smash my enemies, crumble them beneath. Yeah, that's
but the Psalms are so full. The Bible is so full. It's a never-ending well of beauty and of truth. And I'm just like, this is where I want to like draw my inspiration from for the rest of my life. Even if it's not like directly, I'm singing like a very explicit Christian, like this is the well, you know? And so American Idol was clarifying to me that like, this is where I need to be. Like, I love worship music. I love writing songs for the church. I love writing songs for believers. I love writing songs for non-believers that pull their heart towards him. But at the end of the day, it's all about drawing near to him. And so, yeah, glad I did it. Probably won't ever do it again. Definitely won't ever do it again.
But it's almost like God needed you to take a look and take a peek because you might have always wondered.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what the other side would have been.
I think so too.
And
it's
so
you go into a situation. I told the kids when you go into that situation, I try to live my life this way. Not that I do it perfect, but I do try to live my life with something called the Ignatius indifference. And what Ignatius would say is you kind of hold these two options in your hand. And one option is then if this works, it's going to blow up and be huge. It's going to be awesome to have that platform. What'd you give me there? Crickets. Well,
just because you Ignatius.
He was.
You got to explain. If you hear crickets, that means you got to explain what you.
He said, yeah.
We do this quite often when Zach is on the podcast.
But this actually does help me though, because
your mom said, "Do I hear crickets?"
She didn't know.
She didn't know.
I didn't hear it either. I was like,
can you get me one of those?
Your mom deserves one, so yes, you will get one.
But what the indifference is that if this works, whatever you're doing, and it blows up, and your dream blows up into this big, awesome experience, great. That's awesome. What a platform that you're going to be able to have. If it doesn't work and you stay small and local, whatever that is, man, thank God I don't have to go do all with that. That's going to require a ton of work, And so either way, like God has people where in God's kingdom, Francis Schaeffer wrote a book called this, There Are No Little People.
That's right.
So whether you're the next Johnny Cash or you're just some guy playing down at the general store and ministering to people there's no little people in his kingdom. There really isn't.
One of the most important things that inspires us is the courage of other people who undergo persecution for their faith.
Yeah, this book, When Faith is Forbidden, really echoes a famous verse in the Bible that says that people didn't love their lives so much as to shrink back from death, in the name of Jesus and their testimony of him. And it's really inspiring because it makes Jesus' resurrection real.
And it's not just, from the past, the things we read about in the Bible or in the 1st and 2nd century. These things are going on today. And so Todd Nettleton, who's the Voice of the Martyrs radio host, he wrote the book that you have there, When Faith is Forbidden, 40 Days on the Front Lines with Persecuted Christians. And it was basically just a 20-year journey of him going into about 20 restricted nations. In those nations, he was finding amazing people that had stood on the principle of their faith, even when it cost them everything. Some their lives, some their freedom, and everybody, it cost them something. And so it's a great way to be inspired, to be encouraged. Each stop on the journey gives you a challenge to reflect in your own life and exactly see where your faith is as God continues to work through you. So we don't want you to miss an opportunity to be inspired by these remarkable stories. Request your free copy of When Faith is Forbidden by calling 844-463-4059. That's 844-463-4059. Or you can visit vom.org/unashamed. That's vom.org/unashamed.
And that was something I had to come to grips with too, because I thought if I'm not doing the big thing, then I'm not doing the thing that God wants me to do. The problem is that whatever position you're in terms of whatever success looks like, whatever influence you think that you should have or would have that would make you feel fulfilled, if you had that amount of influence, guess what? All that happens is your comparison level goes up. There's always going to be a bigger dog. There's always going to be a bigger ministry. There's always going to be a more successful guy. There's always going to be someone who's richer, and even if you're the richest guy in the world, like Elon Musk, all it takes is one drop of your company's stock, and now you're not that guy anymore. So you're trying to hold on to. It's just not. You can't put your hope in those things, and living in that peace, I think, is.
Well, you mentioned it. I love the word you used. It's the wellspring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the words of the Bible, the words of God, are Holy Spirit carried along over thousands of years. Yeah, they still impact. And so what I love about it is, to your point, is that that's the wellspring for any bit of inspiration. You guys happen to have a gift and a talent in singing and music. For me, it's speaking. So, I look at the Bible the same way for speaking. I would never run out of something to say because there's so much more than I could ever say.
That's our podcast. That's why we say it's the Bible. We never run out of content.
Well, when they first approached us, Dad, initially about, Zach and I had a production company, and they were like, we want you to do a podcast. And they were thinking about content. And immediately I said, well, we need to do the Bible because we'll never run out of content. And I remember a conversation I had with a preacher one time, and he said, well, it must be nice to be in a church where your family is in leadership and, you've always got job security. And I thought, what does that mean? Yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, well, I mean, I can never be in a place more than about 5 years because I'm running out of sermons.
Wow.
And I thought, well, you've got the wrong inspiration because I'm never going to run out of sermons. It doesn't matter whether I'm at a place I have family or not. Like, it is a wellspring of life change. And the beauty of it is you change. I mean, you guys have been married in the last few years. Was that a big change? I mean, everything you do in life.
They're not married to each other. But
not to each other. That's right.
They're both married to separate people. I want folks to be able to hear, because y'all have done a lot of music already. So this isn't like, I mean, although I said, I kind of made it sound like this is a new thing y'all are doing, but y'all have a Spotify, Apple.
We got it all.
It's LO Worship.
Yeah.
And then YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LO Worship.
Yeah.
So we'll put links in the show notes, and then when you guys do the actual launch, we'll have you back on, because I really think our family, the Unashamed family, will love your ministry. Probably a lot of people already know about what you guys are doing or listening to what you guys are putting out. But I'm proud of both of you. Honestly, it's like to me last night, I was like tearing up looking at my daughter up there singing so beautifully, and then you thinking about that. I felt a little guilty that I didn't have the pastoral oversight to see your gifting. So I repent, Reeves, but I love you. You are one of my favorite people in the world. I love your entire family, and I am super proud of both of you guys. And y'all are doing what God's called you to. So praise Him.
Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
So tell us this in the last couple of minutes. Where do you feel like what's the thing God has taught you most recently that you're using now to do this music and do everything else? Where's God got you in the moment?
I love what you said about no little people, because this is the whole point. There's a verse, and I can't remember where, and that's awful, but it talks about the mission is to basically lead a quiet life. Like, that is the mission. 1
Thessalonians 4.
That's right. We were in a write a few weeks ago. This guy we were writing with, like, he's written a bunch of #1 hits. Like, he's the guy in songwriting. And that was what he said. He said, yeah, these days my mission is just to live a quiet life. Like, schedule is easy. I don't pack my days out, spend time with my family. I'm a part of my local church, very plugged in.
That's big.
And so for me, like, that's what I feel like God is teaching me, is just slow down, be in your community. Do not strive. Like, where the striving is, that is not where I'm having you. Like, what I have for you is rest. And so whether like this goes, to the thousands or just to our community, like, it's beautiful either way. And so I'm just trying to kind of live in that. And I feel like God's given me so much peace about like those two hands, like either way, it's awesome. That. So, yeah.
What about you, Reeves?
Yeah, I resonate with a lot of what you were talking about earlier. Just like, I think the big thing that I've learned is that I've just seen how the Lord's just changed my desires. And you kind of talked about that with going on American Idol and experiencing that. And it's like this thing you thought and this whole path you saw. It's like you knew exactly what was going to happen. You had all these expectations. And then the Lord really just like prunes a lot of that out. And like at the start of the journey and up until where we're at now and seeing whatever the Lord has before us, like I definitely feel like the Lord's just pruned a lot of that out. Like at the beginning, there's, we're all just so obsessed with ourselves. And so like at the beginning, it's just like, oh, this is going to be great. Like I can go after all my dreams and whatever. And like little by little, like the Lord has just shown me that it's just not all about me. And like my prayer for the last like couple years, as I've experienced the Lord just pulling stuff back, is like, it's not all about like the big lights and everything and like the striving. And my prayer, like all I could ask is that I would be used in a way, and I would be so in tune with the Holy Spirit in a way that like what we write is just putting new, fresh words to what people are experiencing.
Yeah.
And like helping people draw near to the Lord and like just like bringing new word. Like my prayer is that I would just somehow be in touch with a new way to say what we're trying to say and like new words to what we're going through and like
new words to a timeless truth of who he is.
Yeah,
that's
what
so
I hear.
good.
I think that's so good. And when you said everything you guys were talking about, the song that popped in my head was the Matt Redman song. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, where it's all about you. When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come. I love that story about that song. You guys, we all know Matt, what a great guy he is, and. That song was written out of an overproduction in the church, their church, and their pastor was like, "Done, we're not doing that for a while." And the first song, they stripped everything down, and the first song they came back out with, they had sat in a season. I don't know the full, I'm probably getting the details all wrong here, but the gist is right. They sat in a season of a posture of who is God. Who is this King of Glory that we serve? And we're coming. Let's go back to the heart of what worship is. That offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. And the first song that came out of that was "When the Music Fades and All is Stripped Away."
So I think they quit doing worship for a while too.
Yeah, powerful. Well, thank you for coming on.
And that's what we're so excited about you guys. You're the next gen, and we're super proud of everything you're doing. So thank you for coming on Unashamed.
Thank you
Keep
for
doing what
having
you're
us.
doing. Awesome. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube. And be sure to click the little bell and choose all notifications to watch every episode.